Well, good morning, everyone. There'll still be some more people joining over the next few minutes, but we'll get started here now, right at 11. So welcome to our, I believe, fourth Digital Main Street Digital Skills webinar, our first of the winter season. Today we have From Etsy to Empire with Jenna Labiak from the Silk Labs, who's going to discuss her journey from starting a Etsy-based business to what's now a global fashion brand. So they'll be taking you through some of that journey and some of the tips that you can use to help grow your business. If you are unfamiliar with Digital Main Street's going on across the province of Ontario right now in South Grenville. We have the South Grenville Digital Main Street program with our coordinator, Elizabeth Lawless, who will be leading today's webinar. Through Digital Main Street, you can receive one-on-one digital support and marketing support for your small business, as well as other programs like the Shop Here program, which helps you start your own business website. So without further ado, I'll turn things over to Elizabeth and Jenna for today's presentation.
Good morning, everybody. Hopefully you can see my screen there. So we'll get started with a quick overview. I'm going to talk about Etsy and how to get started, a few tips and tricks. We'll also talk about using social media for growth. Specifically, we'll talk about TikTok. It's a new platform. It's growing very quickly, and it's a great place to start with your business. We will also cover Shopify and our Shop Here program. And we will also have our guest speaker, Jenna, to share her tips and tricks. And we will have a question period at the end. So if you have any questions for myself or for Jenna at the end of the presentation, we will have some time set aside for that. So starting with Etsy, it is an online platform. It is almost like an online mall for people that make handmade products. It is a great platform for beginners, and it allows you to offer online shopping for your customers without having to create an entire site from scratch. And it also brings awareness to your brand through Etsy's community of followers. They have a very large number of users, so this is a great exposure for your business. As of 2021, Etsy had 81.9 million buyers. So again, this is really great exposure for your store. When people are searching for products, they will recommend your store in that search function. So if they're searching for something generic like a scrunchie, Jenna's business on Etsy would have been mentioned in that search function for consumers to find her. So how to get started, like always, you'll have to make a username and password, and you will also have to select a unique name for your store. Since there are so many users, your store name or your business name might have been taken already. So a little tip for that is you can add either store or boutique to the end of your business name, because every single store on Etsy does have to be unique. You will also have to create your first listing. So I recommend when you're setting up your profile to have at least one item ready. So it needs to be photographed, it needs to be priced, and it needs to have like a little description as well. And then from there, you can open your store for free. You can enter billing info in order to get paid and receive the payments from your customers. You'll need your credit or debit card for that, and then your checking account info, so your account number and things like that. So it will be deposited directly into your bank account from Etsy. So creating your first listing, like I mentioned, you're going to have at least one listing when you set up your store. So you want to make sure you have high quality product photos. We will go over, what makes a good photo and all of those tips and tricks later on in the presentation. You also need descriptive words and keywords. We're going to go over a few keywords that you can use. You'll need your price and your estimated shipping costs. Since it's online, you'll be shipping orders. So you'll need the weight and the dimensions of the product to calculate that shipping cost. So for keywords, you kind of have to think like a customer. So if a customer was looking for your product, what would they type into the search bar for that? So like for Jenna's store, she started out selling scrunchies. So what would people type in for that? Maybe they would type pink scrunchie or hair scrunchie, certain things like that. And you want to put those keywords into your product tags, your product titles, and in the beginning of your item description. This also works if you aren't on Etsy and you just have like a typical website, then it'll work through Google. So if people are looking for a silk hair elastic, if that is the title on your website, that will come up when people search that into Google. You can also check the performance of these keywords under your shop statistics. Just to check the performance of them. Are they working well for you? Are they not? And then you can make adjustments according to that. Moving on to product photos. Product photos should be sharp and simple. You want a nice neutral background. You want them to be staged a bit. So you can see here, like we can tell that this is the main product, but we have some nice artistic details on the side. But the product is still the main focus, which is the number one most important thing. If you have a product photo that is too cluttered, people are not going to know what you're selling from a first glance. And your product photo is kind of like the first impression. So moving on to what makes a good photo. It needs to grab the consumer's attention, and it also needs to clearly display the product, and it needs to communicate about the product. So what is the color? What is the size? What materials are in here? So this one, for example, we can see the tag here. It says 100% silk. So we know that is like the feel of the product, but we can also see some of the details because this is a higher quality photo. We have lots of light, a nice neutral background. So this is a really, really great example of a good product photo. I love filters for pictures, but for product photos, it is really hard because you want to make sure people are seeing the exact color that they're getting. I know it's really disappointing when you order something online and it comes in and it doesn't look anything like the photo. So you want to make sure that you are very clearly communicating all of the details of the product. It also needs to show the product's purpose. So this is more of a lifestyle photo, which we will go over a few examples of that, but it helps the consumer visualize like what it would be like if they owned the product. So maybe if it's something you wear, you're going to have it modeled. If it's an accessory for something, you're going to put those two things together in a photo. Just a couple of examples. Again, you need to have a plain background. A neutral color is best and a lighter background is best. So here we have gray and white, both very neutral backgrounds. I would strain away from super dark colors. People are more drawn to brighter photos. Natural light is best for photos, but if you have an option for studio lighting, similar to these 4 photos, that is also really great. You can also get that at home if you get a ring light. You can get them online and they can create a more studio effect in your like home business. So there are 7 types of photos. We're going to go over each one with a few examples. So first we have the studio shot. So we want to have a nice plain background, lots of lighting, and it's just the product. So there's no creative styling here. It's just, this is the product that I'm selling. You're clearly communicating all of the details of it. And this one is what I recommend putting first as your listing photo. On Etsy, you can add up to 10 photos per listing. I recommend doing this one first. It's nice and bright, it's clear, it's professional, and it just focuses on the exact thing that you are selling. The second one is one of my favorites. It's a lifestyle shot. So it's showing your product in its natural state. It helps you visualize owning the product as a consumer, and it's creatively styled. So here you can see we have a pillowcase, and it is in its natural state being used for what it's intended to use for, and it helps you visualize owning that product. This one here, this is the silk scarf. So you can see it's showing you different ways that you can use it. You can use it as a top, a scarf, a hair accessory, all of those things. So it's really great to show, if you have a product that is more diverse, it's great to show all of the different ways that you can use it. And again, creatively styled, you have some nice artistic elements here that really make the photo catch your eye. The next one is a scale shot. So this communicates the size of your product. So here we have the mask laying on top of the pillow here, so we can see the size of it. It has lots of light, and usually these photos are modeled, so you can see if that's the purpose of it, if it's a clothing item. So you can see the size of it, like if it's cropped, if it's longer, all of those little details. Next is the detail shot. I also really like this one. It's more of a close-up. So here you can see we have the logo there on the scarf. It's a nice detail. It's going to highlight the features. So we can see like the textures, the engraving on this one, for example. And it also shows your product from different angles than like your typical studio shot, which we talked about first. The group shot is really great for like gift sets. We saw a lot of these, around the holidays and things like that. So we can see there's a set over here with 4 items. It's great for products that come in different colors, so you can see all of them at once. And then it's also good for multiple items. The packaging shot is kind of similar to the lifestyle shot. It's very creatively styled. It shows people what to expect. So here we have the shipping box. So, this is what's going to arrive on your doorstep when you order from this store. This is kind of what it looks like on the inside. And then we also have a detail shot as well for this. This is great for kind of filler photos on social media, or if you're doing some advertising. This one, for example, is really good. The process shot is kind of like the behind the scenes of the business. These ones are really, really great for social media. It makes your customers feel like they're involved in the process. So here we can see the product being made, or you can show it being sourced if that's what you do. Like I said, they're really good for social media. This one is an Instagram story, just showing them making the product. And there are more casual photos. So this one here is just their workspace. It's still creatively styled, which is really nice, but it's not, a very professional like studio shot. It's just, this is what our office looks like. This is my daily life as a business owner. It makes people feel involved in the process. So moving on to photography mistakes. The biggest one is low lighting. This makes your products kind of grain, or your photos kind of grainy, and it'll make them a little blurry. So it's best to really try to get that natural light. A lot of people try to avoid low lighting by using flash. I would not recommend this one. It'll alter the color of your product. It's going to create glares. It's going to create shadows, all of those unflattering things. So we want to try to move away from that. One thing you can do is take the photo with, not the best lighting, and then you can edit it in an editing app afterwards. Some of the ones I've used for editing photos are, you can use Visco. They have a lot of filters and editing tips on there, as well as Lightroom, which you can use on your phone. It sounds super intimidating, but it's actually really easy to use, and you can adjust the brightness on it. So it makes it just a little bit brighter for you without having to use flash. Again, try to avoid blurry photos. If you're using an iPhone, it'll usually focus for you automatically. If it's not focusing on what you want, you can just tap the screen on wherever you want it to focus, and it'll do that for you. If you're using a camera, it's much more complicated. I don't actually have a lot of tips for that. I don't typically use a professional camera, but Another thing is too much clutter. Like I mentioned, people want to see what you're selling. So you want the main focus to be on the product. It is really, really nice to add some artistic elements here and there, but when you're adding way too much, it's going to be too much. It's going to be confusing. And the last one is not enough information. So people can't see what color it is because the filter's too heavy on it. You can't tell the size, you can't tell what it's made of because there's no detail shot, all of those things. So you want to make sure that you're communicating all of the elements of your product within your photos. So we'll also go over some pros and cons of the Etsy platform. So we'll start with the pros. It's really quick to set up and it's very user-friendly. It's cost effective. It's a low financial risk. You can set up your store and list multiple items for just a few dollars, and you don't have to worry about hosting fees or like a customized domain fee. Etsy also has an established audience, so you get to kind of dip into that market, which is really nice. So overall, it's just a really good platform for when you're just getting started, and then once you build that consumer base, you can branch off to your own site afterwards. A few cons of Etsy. The biggest one is the competition. Like I said, there are so many users and there are also a lot of stores on Etsy. So you're going to have a lot of competition. You're going to have a lot of people that sell similar things to you. This is a worldwide platform, so there's going to be a lot of people making similar things. And when people search things into the search bar at the top, like scrunchie, for example, they're going to list all of the stores that sell scrunchies. So they're not going to just list yours. So the competition there is really high. There's also a lack of customer loyalty. When people are following like your business's social media, or they're signing up for your newsletter, they're a fan of your store specifically. But when they're on Etsy, they're a fan of Etsy and they're a fan of handmade products. So they're not specifically coming to your store, if that makes sense. There's also a lack of branding. You can't fully customize your entire store on Etsy. You can add your logo, you can add your photos, and I think you can choose the text that you have, but other than that, that's it. So you can't, change the backgrounds to your brand's colors like you could with a Shopify site, for example. Moving on to Shopify, we're just going to do a quick overview here. So you can build your brand. They have an option to create a free custom logo on their website. And you can build your online presence by creating your own custom online store with your own store domain. So for example, Jenna's is thesilklabs.com. That's her own custom domain. You'll develop some customer loyalty because people are coming specifically to your store. And Shopify actually offers 24/7 support. So that's a really, really great feature if you're having a few problems with your online store. They also have a ton of online learning tools. A lot of people use Shopify as well. So there are like a lot of other YouTube channels that aren't necessarily affiliated with Shopify that will offer tutorials as well. But Shopify does have their own YouTube page with tutorials. They have blogs, podcasts, all of those things to help you out. And like I mentioned, it is fully customizable, which is a really great feature. So you can choose your theme when you first get started. You can either choose a paid or free version. Both of those will be fully customizable. You can choose your brand colors to input into your website and then upload or create your logo. And they also have in-house shipping partners available as well. So that's an option if you are looking for that. Moving on to social media growth. So we'll start with TikTok. It's currently the fastest growing social media platform, and it specializes in short form content. So most videos are 15 seconds. It used to be that you could only do 15 seconds. Now you can do up to a minute. So, or 3 minutes actually. They recently changed that. So you can make them longer, but the shorter videos really do perform better. 40% or 41% of users are ages 16 to 24. So it's definitely a younger audience. If this works for your business, then I definitely recommend getting on TikTok, but it's a really good market to tap into. It has a very viral effect. Most of them are, using popular sounds and music in your videos. Lip syncing, like very popular sounds, tends to really go viral on there, and some of the hashtag challenges that they do as well. It is a heavily influencer-based app, and it's actually quite interesting because it's made a whole new wave of influencers. It used to be YouTubers, and then it was Instagram influencers that branched out into YouTubers, and now we have a whole new wave of TikTok influencers as well. So it's been very interesting to watch as it expands. So we'll talk about what you should do with TikTok. So the biggest thing is you want to target the right followers. It's much better to have like a smaller number of followers that align with your store values and are interested in your brand, rather than thousands of people that aren't interested in your business whatsoever. And with this, it's important to collaborate with the right influencers because, again, you want to gain the right followers. So you want to find an influencer that aligns with your brand and your core values, and they will bring their audience, which also would align with the same values. You also want to interact with your audience. We always give this tip for social media, but it does look a little bit different on TikTok. You can still do the typical things like follow people, like videos, comment on videos, and things like that. But a few different things that you can do is you can duet videos. So if somebody has one and you're interested in it, or you have something to add, you can duet it and your image will show up right beside theirs. Another thing you can do that I think is quite interesting is you can reply to people's comments with a video. So if someone asked a question about your business and this is going to be a lot to explain, instead of typing out a response to them, you can actually respond with you in a video, and that would be a public video. So it's also important to be on top of the latest trends. Like I mentioned, you want to use trending sounds, trending music, and filters as well. Like always, you want to be posting frequently and you want to post at the right time. So sometimes this takes a bit of practice to see, when your followers are online, but the best times typically are like around lunchtime, after work, and weekends, because that's when people are spending time on the app. So more about kind of building the right audience, you want to use the right hashtags. So there are a lot of hashtags that will go viral on TikTok, or like ones that are trending. I would not recommend using a trendy one if it's not relevant to your video, because you're not going to reach the right people. You want to use hashtags that are relevant to either the video you posted, your brand, or the products you sell. So one example would be if you were a bookstore, you would use the hashtag book talk, and that's one of the trending ones, and it kind of will it'll push your video to that specific community on TikTok, which will then get you the right followers. Moving on to growth. So TikTok has become like the ultimate way to grow your audience fast, just because of its, viral content. Everyone's joining it. They have they have 1 billion users as of 2021. So there's a lot of reach on this app. And it's more authentic and it's funny content, and it doesn't have to be overly produced, which is what kind of puts it above growing on Instagram, because Instagram is very like, everything has to be perfect and it looks like it's perfectly photographed and things like that. Whereas TikTok is just like a funny video you took with your friends, or showing the behind the scenes of your business, and it's super casual. It's just a very different atmosphere on there. Moving on to some of the benefits. So like I mentioned, it has a massive audience. This is a great benefit for your reach online. You can also link out to other social media platforms. So you can link your Instagram to your TikTok profile. It's great for e-commerce because you can link your website right in your bio and people can go straight there from the app. And you're able to find like your niche through TikTok communities. Like I mentioned, Book Talk was one of them. So it's people that, really like reading and they're looking for reading recommendations. So if you were a bookstore and you were able to get your videos into that community, that would really help you because you're targeting the exact person that you want. Like I mentioned, it's more casual. People are not looking for overly produced content. They're looking for fun and just casual content to enjoy. Some viral tips. So you want to use popular sounds and music, like I mentioned. Using effects is helpful. It's believed that it will increase your exposure. Certain sounds will also help you go viral. So it's important to keep an eye on the popularity of a sound. But if it's all over your page, it's most likely all over your followers' pages. So it's good to use that. I know a lot of people don't like to follow trends, but with kind of the nature of TikTok, following these viral trends will really help you build a larger audience, but you can still make it your own in your own unique way. So participating in these challenges will really, really help you. There is a playlist on the TikTok app. It's called TikTok Viral. And you can use that to find popular sounds. You can make sure you're staying on top of all of those trends. And again, you can find challenges under the hashtag section in the search function. So you can again hop on those trends. Just a quick overview of the purpose of TikTok. So it is to educate, inspire, and entertain people. So this is kind of how you can approach getting started on the app. Maybe you can try to make a video for each of these things. So for educate, you can educate people about what you sell, why you sell it. I know Jenna's made a few videos about why silk is so good for your hair. You can inspire people by showing your business and how it's grown, and you can entertain by just posting those funny casual videos like I mentioned. So I am now going to introduce our guest speaker. So we have Jenna, and she is the owner of the Silk Labs. They are a direct-to-consumer Toronto brand, and they cut and sew silk goods in-house. They've created a community of individuals who value luxury goods with an ethical production. She started selling on Etsy and has now built her own website with a range of silk products and hair accessories. She currently has 17,000 followers on Instagram and over 104,000 on TikTok. So she's going to talk to us a bit about how she achieved her online growth and just kind of the process of her business. So I'll pass it over to Jenna now.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you, Elizabeth, for the introduction. So as Elizabeth mentioned, I did start my brand on Etsy. And then after 6 months, I transitioned into Shopify. I did this just to match the growth of my brand. And just talking about the transition itself, it wasn't overnight. I started with a free Shopify theme, which I would highly recommend because Shopify actually has some really amazing free themes. A huge mistake a lot of people make when they go on Shopify is because they want it to be perfect and the best version of themselves and the best version of their brand. They think they have to build a whole new website from scratch. They have to code, they have to make everything custom. But that's actually a mistake because Shopify has a lot of really good free resources and you could be making a mistake that you wouldn't realize. So an example is maybe you built something on your website that's scaring customers to leave, or your website has a slow speed store, which means it's loading very slowly. So definitely recommend starting with one of Shopify's themes. So a challenge for me was I had to learn how a direct-to-consumer business works, had to decide my shipping rates, margins to my products, and doing all this without having a business background. So everything was new to me. And some early successes I had was I do have a marketing background, so influencer outreach and content creation became a little bit of an easier task for me than the business side of it. So as I was mentioning, the transition, Shopify is very user friendly, which is amazing. And they have really amazing resources. They have live chats and you can set up calls with anybody. So that was really great for me. But again, as I mentioned, I like built my website as my business was growing. So almost like weekly, I was adding new features to my website. So it wasn't overnight. The website that you see now was not what it was like a year and a half ago. And there are different plans for different price points. So it just depends on your budget and where your business is. And Etsy was great for me because it helped me build my customer base. And then I brought them over to my website. So as Elizabeth was mentioning earlier, they have a great marketplace. So people were discovering me from Etsy and then followed me to my website. Shopify tips. So Shopify is cost effective. Start with the lowest fee and add features as you go. So an example is when I first launched on Shopify, we just had written reviews because that was like the cheapest form of reviews. But now we added an app called Loox. It's Loox. And it actually allows customers to add a written review and a picture. And this really helps with customer conversion because they're less likely to just trust your images because they know like you want to like obviously make money. That's why you're here. But for a customer to add their images, they trust those images more because they relate to that customer more and they know the customer doesn't gain anything. So adding that tool was more expensive for us, but in the end, it does convert higher on our website. And then we fully customized our website theme to match our branding. So what we would recommend is plugging in your website logo to like the landing page, and then using your brand colors and your brand fonts. If you haven't fully like solidified your brand fonts and colors, don't panic, but just figure out what you want your brand image and voice to be and start building a mood board that matches that. And you can always change as you go. So support, Shopify, as I mentioned, offers really amazing 24/7 support. You can do their live chat or you can set up a call. I set up calls all the time. I'm very annoying. I'm always annoying them, but it's super helpful. And then they have an amazing blog and YouTube tutorials. And it's not just YouTube tutorials about setting up your business, but they actually have webinars and YouTube tutorials on like how to prep for Black Friday, how to prep for a new collection, like marketing tips, email marketing tips, blogger influencer tips. So it's a very like well-rounded resource. And if you're having issues creating your Shopify website or any issues with your business, something that I always recommend is looking for help on a platform called Fiverr. We'll get into that a little bit more because we have a slide on like my favorite apps, but that's like a huge helpful tip that I use a lot. Content creating. So once you have created a strong product, branding is everything. For a direct-to-consumer business, marketing is like 60% of your business. So it's, as we were mentioning earlier, it's really important to follow trends, but make them your own. So using popular sounds or memes or internet jokes to promote your products. Deliver content that you want to see as a consumer. So I'm assuming whatever business you want to launch, you're also the ideal consumer. That's usually what happens hand to hand. So try to look at it as a third party and think, what would I want to see as a consumer? It is a little bit difficult because as a business owner, you work alone a lot and you're in your own head. So if you're able to find ways to step outside of that and think of yourself as a consumer, it's very helpful. And if you can, be consistent with your posting. As I mentioned earlier, it is really helpful to have 2 to 3 brand fonts that you stick to and a few brand colors. This really creates customer loyalty and they feel like they can trust you. They come to your page and they see a consistent look and branding. They see you as professional, and keeping this throughout your website, through your Instagram stories, your posts is extremely helpful. don't get too worried or discouraged if you don't have that yet, but try to keep a certain mood board or brand image. And something else that we love to do is we'll stick to consistent brand colors and fonts, but we'll switch it up a bit if there's like a new collection or a new event. So for Black Friday, we use black, white, and red because those colors create urgency. But then when Black Friday was done, we dropped those colors. So we like to do some switches for different collections, but mostly stick to our brand colors and fonts day to day. Okay, my favorite apps. I don't use Photoshop. I'm not good with Photoshop personally, so I use Canva Pro. And this is a really amazing tool. It's very user friendly and it gives a very like Photoshop like look to it. So an example of when I use Canva is for all of our Instagram stories mostly. And then another app I love is TikTok Save. Basically, when you download a TikTok video, it does have the watermark and that does create lower engagement. So when we work hard on a video, we want to reduce, reuse, recycle it on all of our platforms. So if I create a TikTok, I save it without the watermark using this app, and then I'll reuse it on Instagram and Pinterest and any other platform, because if you're working hard on content, you want to use it as much as you can. And then I edit my videos on InShot. So going back to Fiverr, as I was mentioning earlier, it's a really great platform for short-term hires. An example is I used Fiverr actually to build our logo. So it's similar to Etsy where it's a marketplace, and I just searched brand logo and I found a artist that had a similar aesthetic that matched my brand. And then I found the price that fit my budget and the timeline. And I use Fiverr all the time. And it's great because you don't feel the pressure of hiring someone on to your team, but instead hiring someone just for like a little bit of piecework. And then later I use to schedule all my Instagram stories and posts. Social media tips, we closely follow trends, trending sounds on TikTok, different live events and jokes that are happening on the internet. I love to jump on, but add our own twists. It really creates high engagement and helps build your community. It's almost like having an inside joke with your friends. That's how we feel like with our customers. I would always recommend, if you're an example, like after this, if you want to try being on TikTok, I would recommend spending some time on the platform before you start posting. It makes it a lot less intimidating and it'll help you save time. When you're actually ready to post, you'll know what you want to see. So look at your competitors on TikTok, look at your favorite influencers and take notes on what you like and what you don't like. And then one of my biggest tips as well is be personable. Don't be afraid to show your face. It can be a little bit intimidating, but talk, explain your story of why you built your brand. I think e-commerce is starting to be a little bit oversaturated, as a lot of people probably realize. So a lot of people are choosing the business owner instead of the business itself. So if they like you, they'll probably like your brand as a whole.
Okay, thank you so much, Jenna. I'm just going to kind of go over where she is now. So, you know, they started out on Etsy. Now they are sold in the Bay, the Four Seasons hotels, Stack Market, and a bunch of boutiques and spas. They were actually featured in Vogue, Style Canada, Chatelaine, Flair, a bunch of other publishers as well. So it's really great to learn your tips and tricks about online growth. And thank you so much for joining us. And we'll also have you for our question period at the end. So if you have any questions for Jenna, you'll be able to ask soon.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I really appreciate you having me. And I just wanted to mention, if anyone listening was interested in trying our products, as a thank you, we wanted to offer a custom discount that expires at midnight. So I'll put it in the chat if anyone's interested in shopping around during the question period.
Perfect, thank you. So we'll move on to our Shop Here program. So this works with Shopify as through Digital Main Street. You will get free one-on-one support while you build your custom website on Shopify. You will also receive training on how to manage your online store. You'll have support as your website goes live, and you'll also have marketing assistance during all of this as well. It's definitely intimidating starting your own website. So this is a really, really great program because you're going to have that one-on-one support as the website's being built. And then I will also be there for support if you need it as well. I added a little QR code here in the corner. If you are a local business and you are hoping to sign up for that program, you can scan that. You just you turn on your phone camera and you put it on the screen, and it'll take you to an external site. It's also right here as well. So if you are eligible, you must be a registered business in Ontario. You can be a business or an artist. You can also be a home-based business or commercial. So you don't have to have a storefront for this program. You can be a home-based business as long as you're registered. And as long as you have under 10 full-time employees, or if you are a restaurant, it is under 25 full-time employees. So we'll just go over a few of the benefits of Key Program. So like I mentioned, you get that free one-on-one support, building and launching your online store. So you're going to have that support when it goes live as well. You will also receive advertising credits for social media advertising training, a free .ca domain registration, a 90-day free trial of Shopify. And you also may be eligible for a spend match promotion and training on Google Ads and discounts on software subscriptions. You can find all of this on the Digital Main Street website. And again, you can scan here if you are interested in the program. Moving on to our upcoming webinars, we have Branding 101 on January 26th, Leveling Up with Square on February 9th, and our 3 digital transformations on February 23rd. So Branding 101, I put another code here if you want to scan that to register for that one. We will also have a guest speaker for this, and we are going to talk about being consistent with your branding online and offline, how to build that brand kit, just some popular tips and tricks on how to effectively brand your online business. We also have Leveling Up with Square. Again, we have a code there if you want to register. This one's on February 9th. We will be talking about the Square point of sale system, as well as the Square website, because they both link up together. So if you are a small business and you are hoping to either expand your point of sale system, or if you don't have one yet, Square is a really great option. Even if you don't have a commercial location, if you do markets or like farmers markets, this is a great option. So you can take debit and credit payments with that. And of course, we have our 3 digital transformations webinar on February 23rd. We will be featuring 3 local businesses that have completed our Digital Main Street program, and we'll just go through kind of their digital transformation. So if anybody has any questions, we will take those now, either from myself or for Jenna.
You can also drop those questions into the chat if you're shy about jumping in on camera. I suppose I have one for Jenna. So as you were moving from Etsy onwards and forwards, was there a point where you sort of started to realize you were onto something and it was really starting to take off? And what did that feel like?
Thanks for the question. So my growth with my business was pretty steady, but it was really when we were in our first lockdown, e-commerce shot up in general with a big jump. And I noticed a lot of people felt comfort in buying like a smaller item that was still a luxury good. So at the time we only had silk scrunchies. So I'm noticing a lot of customers and new customers were telling us like, it's nice to buy a treat that's under $50, but it's still like a luxury, nice good. And I get to like expect something in the mail. So I think it was a lot of like, I just felt very close with my customer base at the time. And I also decided to do it full time at that moment. So I was posting content like 3-4 times a day. And it was a lot of steady growth from that moment. So I think everyone relating so much to my business and feeling such a connection made me realize that like we were on to something as a community.
That's awesome. I think we do have a question here. We have one hand up.
Yes, that's me, Yona. So this question is for Jenna. How did you reach out to all the print and all the coverage that you got from media? Did you give them samples, or did they just notice your brand?
Yeah, that's a really great question. A lot of brands similar to mine use PR agencies, which I didn't do. It's extremely expensive and it definitely adds up. And I'm not sure that I would have experienced a return just because of how expensive that can be. So everyone does it differently. If there's anyone in PR like watching this, they might be like cringing at what my advice is, because it's not per se like the right thing to do, but it worked for me. So usually how I go about it is I'll look on a different platform. So we can say like L Canada, and I'll find writers that write about products in my industry. So let's say, for an example, my industry was makeup. I would look at writers that specifically talk about other makeup products. And from there, I'll either DM them on Instagram or try to hunt down their email or their LinkedIn, and I'll introduce myself and offer to send them a sample and try to build that organic relationship and not make the writer feel like, I'm just want them for one thing. I try to keep them on our PR list and really nurture the relationship between us. And from there, I'll try to pitch myself to them, like when I feel like we've created like a community together.
So
Thank you.
we have a comment section question and then another hand up. So I think the chat came in first. So from Megan, she asked, do you have any advice for undergraduate students who are hoping to work in a similar industry? Anything you'd say to yourself as an undergraduate?
That's a great question. So I didn't, like myself, I took a communications degree, but my interest was in marketing. And I would definitely say as a student, if you're interested in interning or getting your foot in the door for resume material, you could reach out to local brands in your area and offer to do some like social media work or some fashion work for a few hours a week just to build that resume. And once you have experience on your resume, you could start to try to get a part-time job just to get your foot in the door.
And we have a hand up from Sandra. You are muted, Sandra.
I had some weird problems at the beginning. I could hear everything that was going on, but I could not get the picture up. And then I got advice from Justin. And so I went off and came back on, but I still couldn't. I missed all the pictures on photography. My question is, when will the recording be available so that I can go back and look at the part that I missed? I really enjoyed being able to see for the last maybe 10 or so minutes, but I'd like to see the whole thing.
I believe we'll get that out, if not this afternoon, then later this week, as soon as it's processed and ready to go.
Okay, good.
And you'll get it. You'll get an email.
Thank you.
So if we have, Dana.
Thanks, Justin. Just wanted to thank Jenna on behalf of the town for joining us today for this presentation. Very informative, and to Elizabeth, really informative as well. I learned a lot, and I hope all of our participants did as well. Jenna, just one question I had for you. Something I find in, discussing and having conversations, ongoing correspondence with our businesses is one of the biggest concerns they have or questions they have is, where to best spend their time, because there's so many platforms and so many, different options when it comes to marketing their business and, really trying to create those connections and build a client base. In your experience, and you've had some great success with your business, where would you say your energy is best spent, especially when you're first starting out with a business?
Yeah, that's a great question. I love that question because it can be overwhelming, especially when you're trying to consume different resources online. There are a lot of different answers. So for my personal experience, we experienced the most growth with TikTok and Instagram, just posting daily. And another thing I would recommend is if you can, budget wise, I would start gifting influencers and building a relationship with them. That's also how we experienced a lot of growth. And we started specifically in Toronto because influencers and consumers are more likely to support a business that comes from their city. So that was like the two main things that helped us grow the most.
Thank you.
I was actually just going to follow up on what Jenna said to Megan about her question about advice for undergraduate. If marketing is an industry that you are looking to work in, I also recommend, similar to as to what Jenna said about reaching out to local small businesses and offering your support. I did that in my final year of university. We were online, so I had a bit more time on my hands. And I reached out to local businesses and offered to do some of their social media, create posts for them. And then that helps you build a bit of a portfolio that you can use when you're applying to jobs, because that experience it's really valuable when you're applying to jobs, but it can be difficult to get because you're working, full-time in school. So if you're able to do a little bit here and there for small businesses, that's a great way to build your portfolio.
I have a quick question. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. So Jenna, I actually came across your TikToks a couple of months ago, and that's how I ended up finding your brand, which I absolutely love. And so I just want to know, like, how do you plan like your campaigns and like your next photos and everything?
Well, that's a great question because it can be overwhelming, especially when you feel like your brand's on a high and then you're selling out of products and you have this moment of, okay, what do people want to see next? So whenever I'm stuck and I don't know what to do, it's very simple. I just post the story and say, like, what do you guys want to see from us? I just try to give my community what they want. And oftentimes I am surprised. That's how I started actually getting into pillowcases, because my mentality was, oh, jumping from like hair accessories to bedding is such a huge jump. But since we are a silk-based product, a lot of people saw that as the next step. So I just went for it. And I just try to listen to my audience. And thankfully, they communicate with me a lot. So that's super helpful. And then I try to jump from there and create Pinterest boards and mood boards and see what's on trend.
Do you have like anybody that helps? Like, do you have like a team around you now that helps you with the campaigns, or like is most of it, by yourself still?
Yeah. Day to day, it's mostly me. I had in the past a graphic designer that helped me create patterns that we have for our scarves right now. So she was great to help. Like, we had a mood board that we created together and creating like a color story and branding as a unit. But most of the time it's me or like short-term hires or other people that just like are willing to help and friends.
That's amazing. Thank you for answering my question.
Thank you for asking. Thank you.
So do we have any more questions for, oh, we have one in here from M. How did you nurture your community at the start?
I think posting daily and starting to get comments was how I created my community. And then working with micro influencers, which means influencers that have less than like 5,000 or 10,000 followers that are trying to build more of a following, creating a community with them as well, and having them talk to their community about our products and developing from there. So from the start to create a community, it is a little bit intimidating, but if you're consistent with your goals and with your posting and your gifting, you will see a community come naturally.
We're coming up on 12 here now. Oh, one more. Did you find it difficult to ask influencers to post about you?
Yeah, that's a great question because it is a tricky kind of spot, especially because a lot of influencers obviously are looking to get paid. And at the beginning, you don't have a budget to pay influencers. So how I go about it is I believe in my product so much and have had such a positive response from our customers that I believe that it's a high enough product that the influencers will want to post about it organically. So I do try to pick influencers that are in our niche. So an example is like a hair care influencer. So they would post about like our hair products, or someone that posts a lot about luxury textiles like cottons and linens. I believe that they'd also like silk. So being a little bit picky about what influencers you're choosing and making sure they're in your niche. And I do find that micro influencers, because they are gifted a little bit less than larger influencers, they're more likely to post you as well. So I don't ask, but I try to just be kind and gift and hope for the best. And it is a risk. So.
So if we have no more questions, oh, one more. When you started your gifting, did you find it that a lot of people end up not posting about it, or do you get a pretty quick reaction?
It is a risk, and there are people that have just not posted about it. But at the beginning, I did find like 70% of people would post, so it's worth the risk. And then the return and the reaction that you would get from someone posting does pay off for the free goods that you're sending them. And just trying to be very personable and kind and following up with them, being like, hey, like, what did you think about our products? Like, we would love to see how it looks on you, and being friendly but not pushy. So trying to see if they're like willing to communicate with you. And if it doesn't work out, that's fine. Just move on to the next and don't send them more product if they're not interested.
Oh, it looks like that may be it for questions now. We're coming up to 12 o'clock. That was a really great discussion. Thank you for taking all of those, Jenna. I want to thank Jenna and everyone for coming today. We will be, since you've registered, you'll now receive both the video of this webinar, a link to all our previous webinar videos, as well as the registration links for the three upcoming webinars. So you can look for those in your email in the next few days. And again, thank you everyone for coming, and have a terrific day. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.